Hi YouTube teachers, homeschoolers, and parents and friends. This is Elizabeth with an S with another video on a science hands-on activity. This one is a physics activity called a hum, and we're going to again be talking about vibrations and making sound, and this is just another way to do that. Hopefully you've been enjoying your holiday. And mine was filled with some physiotherapy and a little warthog piglet rescue. If you're on Instagram, you can check out my video on that the other day, but they're safe now and being taken care of, so that's a really good thing. Anyway, so for this activity, you need a couple of things. You need some foil paper or some really, really thin paper that's as thin as foil. I have foil, so that's just what I'm going to use. And you need to start with your foil paper being 12 by 6 centimeters or 4 3/4 by 2.5 inches, depending on whichever system you use. So that's the size for the foil or the really, really thin paper, 12 by 6 centimeters or 4 3/4 by 2.5 inches. You also need an eraser, a rubber eraser. It doesn't have to be brand new, it can be used. I didn't have any, so I just went out and bought one. So there's that. And then you need some string. This is just some yarn, and the string should be about 50 centimeters long or 20 inches long, whichever one it is that you use. And so these are the supplies, plus scissors and a glue stick, that you will need to do this particular activity. So what you're going to do with the foil or your paper is you're going to cut this into a half circle. Okay, and it doesn't have to be perfect. You can just, with your scissors, just take it and cut it into a half circle. And there we go, sort of a half circle. And let's just scrap. So once you've got that, then you're going to take this half circle and you're going to, first you're going to tie the eraser onto the end of the string. And then you're going to take your half circle and you are going to put it pretty close to the end with the eraser. In fact, let me turn it over, that'll be easier. And you're just going to glue it down and then fold over this edge. So let me do that, and let me get some glue, and then I will do that, and then we will play with our toy. Okay, so what I'm going to suggest before you do the glue is actually fold over a flap like that, so you can mark where the string is going to go and you have enough left edge left over for the glue to hold. So let's apply our glue, and glue stick would have been easier, but I couldn't find it. I'm just going to rub this glue so it's going to catch on the string, plus it will be on the paper as well. All right, so now I'm going to put this in. I'm just going to leave a teeny bit of the string between my foil and the eraser. And I've tucked my string exactly into the fold, so I know when I fold this over, I'll actually be gluing my edge down. So now you've got that set up. And I'm just going to let it dry. Give it a few minutes to dry, and then we will use it and see what happens. Okay, so here we are. We've got the glue nicely dried, and we're ready to use our toy, for lack of a better word. Just make sure that's tied on tightly. Now what's going to happen is you're going to take this thing and then spin it around with this hand. So the side that does not have the eraser is you're going to spin it around as fast as possible. So you might end up with maybe little kids who aren't able to spin it fast enough to get what you want to happen. So you might have to do it for them, like if you're the homeschooling parent or something, or if they're just doing a fun science activity at home. Yeah, you might have to do it for them, but that's fine. You will still get the results. So I'm going to show you what happens. Hopefully we'll hear it, and then discuss kind of what's actually happening and what you can do scientifically to make this more of an investigation. Okay, so here we go. My lovely little backdrop. So here we are. You can see the paper gets quite wrinkled, especially if it's aluminum foil. And I did do it in the slow motion so you could have a chance to kind of see it moving as well, because I thought that was interesting. So now what's actually happening with this paper? Now, first of all, let's do a little troubleshooting. So what happens if it doesn't hum? Well, it could be one of two things. One, your paper may not be thin enough. So you probably don't want to start with craft paper, like that really thick stuff. Eventually, you could try it if you are going to do some more investigations and maybe look for you know, what's the thickness of the paper that gives you the best hum or something like that. But as far as your independent variables, maybe different thicknesses of paper. But to start off with, use something super thin. So that's one reason why you might not get humming. The other reason is that the eraser is not heavy enough. So if this is really small and light, it won't hold the string out enough. You know, the weight of the string due to circular force won't hold it out enough and keep this straight. So those are the two things to kind of troubleshoot if you're not getting a humming sound like I did in the video. So now what's actually happening here is when you spin this around, airflow is making the paper flutter and vibrate. So this, of course, is going to produce a sound. As you spin faster, the separate sounds that the paper is making is going to become this like sort of continuous hum. And so now the students can try to explain why you're getting a continuous hum. So that could kind of be an extension question to this particular activity. Now, what you can do for scientific investigation is, like I said, use different kinds of paper. So you could use regular paper like this. You could use craft paper, which is a bit thicker. You could even go thinner than this and use sort of a plastic paper bag, a plastic bag. So that way you could try something even thinner and see what happens. And the students can see how the sounds vary. Are they more high-pitched, low-pitched, louder, softer, that sort of thing? And in what way does the sound vary? And that could kind of be their conclusion. Some things that you could have the students think about more in the natural, relating this to the natural world, is could ask them, why do bees buzz? Thinking about bees' wings and how thin they are and how fast they're moving. That does create that airflow. And so the buzzing isn't the bee itself. It's not like from their mouth or their nose, or they don't have those. But it's their wings. Another example from nature is from hummingbirds. Hummingbirds actually create the humming sound with their wings. So those are some things that you can bring out if you're sort of combining sciences, so to speak. So hopefully you've enjoyed this activity. It is kind of fun to do the spinning thing, I do have to say. But of course, do be careful. There are some safety precautions that you probably want to take, especially with some of the boys of certain ages, if you do have those young men in your classes. So just keep in mind that. And that's been another science activity with me, Elizabeth with an S. I will see you in about a week with another science video.